So, we brace ourselves to hear from Dr. Phil.
Interesting. A lot of people say bring back the cottage hospital. Do you ever hear that? We have these great big impersonal buildings. They bring back the cottage hospital. I used to work in a little cottage hospital. It was lovely because the bloke who mowed the lawn also used to give the anaesthetic. The last time they used the defibrillator was to jump-start the tractor. And I remember once a chap collapsed and I ran for the cardiac arrest trolley. I opened it up and it consisted of a bottle of port and the death certificate book. Before we looked at the thing that was nice about the cottage hospital is everyone knew your name. It was very friendly. You knew the nurses, you knew the staff. But the trouble is, surgery particularly has got so complex. We need to concentrate it in fewer centres. There's always a bigger political stink when you downgrade or you close a unit, but actually something complicated like child heart surgery needs to be done in fewer, larger centres that have the resources and the expertise. But you go into these big hospitals and they are very impersonal. It's very hard to get people to notice you. So this is my top tip today for surviving in hospital, is keep moving, because we need the beds. Every year in the NHS, about 2 people are discovered snoring in the mortuary because we've been a bit quick to shift them through. And you think doctors should be able to diagnose death, but actually, for particularly the larger patient, the more morbidly voluptuous patients, when they're lying still, they have quite a bit of padding. It's quite hard to hear heart sounds and breath sounds. It's quite easy to misdiagnose them. And this happened to a friend of mine on a ward in Bath. Very large gentleman was having a nap after lunch and he couldn't hear any breath sounds and couldn't feel a pulse, so he diagnosed him dead, told the nurses to call in the relatives. He was then fast bleeped back to the ward to find this man sitting up in bed, drinking a cup of tea and reading The Sun. So technically he was still dead. But by the time the relatives arrived, he was chucking into his lunch. He thought, this is going to be cheeky. Well, how am I going to explain this? Now, most doctors worth their salt would blame it on the nurses. They said it was all the nurses' fault, they got it wrong. But this chap, we'll call him Dr. Hammond, he was Spanish, he was very good. He looked at the relatives and he said, well, you see, there are different stages of death. And I think that's a wonderful explanation. But actually, we talk about the high-tech stuff. What actually keeps you healthy more than anything is the community that you live in. We talked about Jon Snow previously and having clean water. Actually, it's having a circle of friends living in a lovely community. I live in this lovely community in the Chew Valley. It's just south of Bristol. And it's wonderful, it's beautiful, it's an area of outstanding natural beauty. I go and I walk my dogs up to the top of our valley. And then about a year ago, they announced that they were going to put a hazardous waste and asbestos landfill at the top of our valley. No. And that's caused a huge stink. But what's been really interesting is I've suddenly met these fantastically resourceful people in my village I'd never met before. So people who are environmental scientists and people who've done civil rights work have all come out. We've had this fantastic Stop Stowy Quarry campaign. And it's worked brilliantly. We've got about 5,000 people on our petition. We've got all the MPs have voted against it. We've got people from the Environment Agency voting against it. And I was thinking, what could the killer, the knockout blow be? And I was doing a charity gig in near Shurston the other day, and this chap came up, a very posh man, and he said, we had a similar problem with the landfill in our quarry. And he said, lots of people, we had senior civil servants and judges on our side, but the thing that won it for us is that we got Prince Charles to sign the petition. Now, I don't know Prince Charles, but I've decided that you 3 are probably the 3 most famous people I know. So I think if I get you 3 to sign my Stop Stowy Quarry petition, do you think the 3 of you together count as one Prince Charles? Well, there's one for you to sign. You have to come over and sign one too, please. I don't know if you're allowed off your chair. You may have to sign it later. If you can pass that down to Nick and sign it on the way, please. What I've learned, a bit like I tell people to stand up to the NHS, is for big planning decisions, you can't just let the experts make the decision on your behalf. You have to challenge it. So you have to get the best law you can, and you have to get the best independent evidence you can, and you actually have to plonk it on the lap of the people in the Environment Agency and the Planning Office and say, look at this. You know, a leaky limestone quarry is not a very good place to put asbestos and hazardous waste when it sits over Bristol's largest drinking water reservoir. And we finally got people on our side. But if we hadn't made a stink, nothing would have happened. So whatever it is, whether it's the health service, whether it's planning, stand up for your rights, get together as a community, and you really can change the system. So go get them. That's my message today. Thank you very much.
Good for you. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. And we will sign the petition.
Thank you very much.
That'll
make all the difference. I'm sure it will.
All right. But now it's time for a Tea Time teaser, which is Ripe Fled. And the clue, took a ripe banana and fled without paying. Took a ripe banana and fled without paying.